Welcome to the Debrief. This is an episode where I create space sharing my closing commentary on topics recently covered in the previous episode. Now, after each recording, I notice my guests and I find ourselves continuing the conversation off air. There's always more to unpack, and sometimes important points get left out simply due to time constraints. What I truly appreciate is that these post-show conversations often signal that the discussion was meaningful and there's still more to explore. So in this episode, this is one-on-one with candidate for the Pennsylvania Congressional 7th District, Ms. Carol Obando-Derstine, followed by my brief closing commentary. What's up, good people? Welcome to another episode of Cuckoo4Politics. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Welcome to the Debrief. Ms. Carol, thank you for the earlier episode when you came on to talk about your candidacy and your positions. Last conversation, you said Lehigh Valley, and you could correct me if I'm wrong, has a significant population of Latinos. You say 60%, I think you said something along those lines.
Pennsylvania 7th congressional, the whole district, it's 20% Latino. But Allentown is majority Latino. So Allentown in particular is it's like 54% Latino.
And so when you're engaging in those types of communities, are you speaking in English or in Spanish? Does it resonate?
I speak in whatever language people prefer wherever I am. For example, a few weeks ago, I was at Bucky Boyle Park in Allentown for an Easter event, and I had a table. I was talking about my campaign to families that came by. If they wanted to speak in Spanish, I went right into it because I'm fluent. And if they prefer to remain speaking in English, then that was fine with me.
And the reason why I asked that, because I find it interesting. In the last presidential election, it astonished me that you probably seen the campaign images or news footage, Hispanics for Trump, Latinos for Trump. And in that last cycle, the Republican Party was able to pull those Latinos from the Democratic support to their support. And I feel like, are you finding that on a campaign trail to say, I'm still a Republican, or B, I'm still for Donald Trump? Are you hearing that still?
I'm hearing less people talk like that. I'm definitely hearing people feel betrayed, that all the promises that he made, all of them under the sky, have not materialized. The price of gas is high and climbing. Price of groceries, healthcare is less accessible, and so on. Just anecdotal information, like people just, talking to me, and on the campaign trail, there's actually surveys and actual real data.
They've been conned, but I'm glad to hear that data is supporting, and in your engagement with the community, they're saying, no, we were misled, and then they're voting within the Democratic Party. But that's going to be tough. That's a coalition. They haven't been a reliable voting bloc per se.
And swing vote. They're a swing vote.
They are a swing vote. Do you think the Democratic Party has a messaging problem to resonate with various factors or facets of Americans?
Yes.
Oh, that was quick.
Yes. I don't have to think about this too long. Yes. And we need to invest in candidates that can appeal to this community because they're part of this community. It's not like I'm coming from outside and just trying to earn their vote at the last minute. I've been doing the work. I've been showing up. That's the other thing, that we need to recognize the people that have been present, presente. Okay, Michael, that have been around, have been here for 22 years and worked for Senator Casey. I was his regional manager and statewide Latino Affairs Advisor. Then years later, I was on Governor Wolf's Advisory Commission on Latino Affairs. So doing the work, I was a representative from Lehigh County, Allentown Rotarian. So I'm in communities of color. Never lost my connection to the Latino community because this is my community. On day one of my campaign, I launched, and then I said it in English, and then I walked to the side and gave my interviews in Spanish. So from day one, This campaign, I have made sure that my campaign is accessible to folks that feel more comfortable speaking in Spanish.
Are the concerns the same regardless of race?
Yes.
Really?
Yes, everybody's struggling to make ends meet. We're all in this boat together. And that's the common ground that we have. We all want to pay less. We want to have safe neighborhoods. We want to be able to send our kids to higher education after high school. We want the same things, and we want safety. We don't want to be targeted because of who we love or how we look.
I think the Republicans, or I'll say the Trump administration, has been successful in blaming or using labels. Say the reason why the price of eggs is up is because of these people. And it resonated. You blame the immigrants, you blame that. Here's the thing. You've gone and engaged with citizens in the 7th District of diverse backgrounds. Mm-hmm. People have resonated, asked you questions. You talked about in the last podcast episode about data centers that are coming in various parts, taking the energy, which drives up the cost of energy and even affects our water supply and climate control. Because corporations are a big influence. Do you have any manufacturing companies or corporations saying, you know what, we're going to put money against you, or are you getting those that's supportive of your candidacy? Because that's a big thing. We, the citizens, we look to Congress to back us, to support us, mm-hmm. but we see that once the congressperson enters, they're big in their communities, but when they get to Congress, they're a very small little person because corporations have already bought them out. Are you going to be one of them?
No, I'm not going to be one of them. I don't take corporate PAC money, and I don't intend to. I love what Shirley Chisholm said many years ago when she ran for president. She said, unbought and unbossed. She was her own person, and I am my own person. I am speaking up for our district. I will be a representative and fight for us, not for, folks with deep pockets want to control politics. We know that we have an issue with big money in politics. That's why I want to do away with Citizens United, have a constitutional amendment to undo all the harm from Citizens United that has flooded money into politics. And it drowns out voices. Big money is trying to influence everything, and that's not right.
Let's put it this way. You win the primary, November comes around, you win the general election, Mackenzie's out, you're sworn in, January 2027, you're in. What are your 3 priorities?
On the campaign trail, I hear about the cost of living all the time. So I really do want to focus on the essentials: housing, healthcare, groceries, utilities, and family care. But I also want to make it easier for people to access healthcare in particular. So that's a second priority. And then the third is I've got to rein in Trump's militarized ICE that's terrorizing our communities all across the district. And I wasn't going to sit on the sidelines and watch him demonize immigrant communities, people who look like me and my family. Those are the 3 that are immediate. But because I am an energy engineer, I want to focus on ways that we can advance a cleaner, greener energy future. I also want to build the middle class. And we do that by supporting entrepreneurs, by supporting small businesses, by investing more in the Small Business Administration. I was on a tech incubator board, Ben Franklin Tech Partners of Northeast PA. They have a tech incubator on the mountaintop of Lehigh's campus, Lehigh University's campus. They also have a satellite building, Stroudsburg University, at their innovation center. These are the things that I want to do to support the creators, the innovators, the folks who have big ideas and have solutions to these big problems that we have here in America. I want to support them.
I was thinking, Michael, if you were in that position, what would you do in January 2027? I mean, the first thing I want to do is get rid of all his names off these buildings and stop all these construction of arcs for himself. There are no guardrails currently, it seems like. Trump is doing everything he wants because the Republican Party that's in there now are locked in step obedient. They're not even questioning him anymore. Like you say, not reinvigorate, but be one of those guardrails, or even try to get these institutions, the FBI, the Department of Justice, all these institutions that we rely on to be guardrails again?
Absolutely. It is going to require us flipping the house to have folks in there that are actually willing to hold him accountable. I oftentimes say the best disinfectant is sunlight. And what I mean is to go to Congress and have hearings and expose everything and have all of this open to the public, because that's what we need. We opening up the shades, like all the sunlight comes in, so to speak, because we need to pull receipts. We need to, right now we have a minority party, the Democrats in the House Oversight Committee. They actually have a tracker where if there are credible abuses of ICE, it's being documented on this tracker. It's publicly available. Nothing is coming out of those the logs that they have. But once we're in the majority, then we can actually have more oversight and do something with all those receipts that we're collecting. We need to hold everybody accountable. And I mean everyone. Even if they're no longer the secretary, everybody gets dragged back in and is held accountable for any crimes that they might have committed. I'm thinking of Kristi Noem here.
Yeah,
That's what I'm thinking about.
So you said something I think voters may not be aware of, because you always hear the Democrats are not doing anything. How come they're not doing anything? I often say it's not like they're not doing anything. They only could voice their objection, but they're the minority power. The minority power has very little. And you just gave a clear example that those who are currently on the various committees doing oversight of the federal government are taking notes, are getting the information, having the receipts. But because they're the minority party, because the majority party will sanction what goes out and what goes in.
Exactly. They control what gets voted on. And so right now, that's why a lot of things aren't being voted on, because Speaker Johnson isn't allowing it.
Basically sweeping under the carpet any dirty things that the various federal agencies under the administration is doing and not exposing it. And this is key as far as turning the House and the Senate. I think that would be the guardrail that everybody wants to put some check onto this administration.
Checks and balances. That's what we need. We need folks who are willing to do that, bench warmers, and to move up in a party because they're career politicians, which is the case for Ryan McKenzie.
America has become more isolated. Our allies are not supportive. Even our close ones, Canada, Mexico. You can even go into the Caribbean, our neighbors. I mean, there are so many people are moving away. And I don't know if citizens that you knocked on doors have spoke about any international themes that concerns them. Currently, the Iran is affecting the trade as well as fuel prices. But are they talking about, their concern about institutions? They're afraid of NATO not being strong against our foes. Are anyone talking about it, or do you have a concern?
I have to be honest with you. Most people talk about what's happening here and that they can't afford gas or groceries. But there are instances where, yes, people have talked to me about international issues, and they're frustrated because this president doesn't know how to treat our friends. He says things that are ridiculous, like that Canada is going to be the 51st state. Things that are not productive. What he was saying with Greenland, although he's not talking about it anymore, but who knows? Maybe tomorrow he will, because he is so chaotic. Greenland is not for sale. I don't know what other way that they have to say it to get it through his thick head, but they have said that it's not for sale, and yet he was trying to entertain this question. This man never has a plan, never has exit strategies. He is all over the map. Folks are fundamentally frustrated about the chaos. That's what we see from this administration.
I know it seems more people are concerned about their wallet, their purses, in regards to everyday But it does matter in a sense, just hinting, whatever happens overseas affects us directly. I think about the supply chain issues during the pandemic. Everything was shut down and we could not get our supplies and everything was getting costly as well.
And I will say one thing to interject, Michael, is something that my son was even telling me. He was worried that there could be a draft because Trump is starting so
Mhm.
many international
Yeah.
incidents slash wars that
Mhm.
he is really nervous about the possibility of a draft in the future.
We seem to have money for war, but no money for healthcare,
Right.
money for weapons, but no money for education,
Hmm.
money for big jets, as he got a jet from Qatar, I believe, or some Middle Eastern country. Money for everything else, but the basics of here at home.
Hmm.
And I think that's frustrating on so many different levels. A very concern of your son if they were to reinstitute the draft, and the communities that they go after. It's never the communities, I won't say, but the communities who they
I know.
going after.
Michael, I know.
Yes, yes. I'll say it's people like you and I that look like that. Any other burning questions or something that you want to get off your chest as far as you want people to understand? Because I think you really hit it home on the first episode. If you are unsuccessful, what's next?
I'll get behind whoever is successful because we do have to unseat Ryan McKenzie. I firmly believe that I will be victorious on May 19 because I have the best chance at building the broadest coalition that taps into the strengths and diversity of our district. That's what it's going to take to win.
Well, Carol, thank you again for joining me on this debrief. I'm glad for this opportunity. I look forward to speaking to you post primary as the Democratic candidate for PA's 7th Congressional District. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for participating. Thank you for listening. Stay tuned for my closing thoughts.
Thank you, Michael.
Before I close, let me first say thank you. Thank you for listening, especially those who are tuning in for the very first time. I appreciate all of you, and I hope you enjoyed today's discussion. If you'd like to leave feedback, please do so by emailing me at cuckoo4politicsfeedback@gmail.com, or you can leave a comment on a platform you just listened or watch this particular episode. Now, what stood out for me speaking with my guest? I think first I was intrigued by her personal story. She's a naturalized citizen originally from Colombia. She became an American through lived experience and not theory. And for me, that matters because someone who is from another country is not an alien. They're just a member of the global community. Our current immigration policy feels less like governance and more like fear that's driving the conversation. She shared with me on a private conversation that members of her own community, neighbors, feel they need to carry passports, and we've heard these stories. Carrying passports to go about their daily life, shopping, walking their child to school, going to church. Why? Because they fear masked men with shields may just want to capture them. This is not America. Freedom should never feel like fear dressed up as normalcy. She also spoke about something else. Young people. How about her own son and his friends are watching these world events and wondering what kind of future awaits them. Whether those fears are realized or not, the fact that so many are carrying the sense of uncertainty says a lot about the moment we are currently living in. But she also said something that totally unexpected, that this climate of tension is somehow bringing people together. Across backgrounds and communities, people are sharing the same concern, that life is getting harder. Our society is more divided and less secure than it should be. Politically, she's not holding back. She spoke directly about the affordability, the rising costs, and stagnant wages, and the growing sense that the American dream is slipping further out of reach. For some, it's already dead. Her argument was clear. These struggles are not by accident. It is designed as a result of policy decisions made by some members in Congress as well as in administration. Her response is this: restoring the guardrails, stronger healthcare protections, better wages. Why only in America we're still struggling to get the basic needs, while some other countries are more far advanced in achieving such needs for its own citizens. Rebuilding trust in our public institutions is a must, because without trust, government becomes just noise. She also made it clear that she's running not as a career politician, but as a mother, a community advocate, someone focused on representing this district, not serving special interests, no corporate donations, no scripted loyalty, just a message of accountability and independence. Now, whether you agree with her or not, that's a kind of clarity we need, because people just don't want representation. They want recognition. Feel our pain. Do something. They want leaders who understand the urgency of everyday life. So perhaps the bigger question is not simply whether Carol Obando-Durstein can win. It's whether candidates like her reflect a deeper shift in what voters are demanding in districts like Pennsylvania Congressional 7th District. Only time will tell, as the primary is soon approaching. As a reminder, Pennsylvania voters, the primary election is Tuesday, May 19th. Polls open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. If you're in line by 7:59 p.m., you can still vote. If you vote by mail, make sure your ballot is delivered and received by 8 p.m. on election day. For more information, check out Pennsylvania Commonwealth of Voting resources on their website. This is Michael, host of the political podcast, Cuckoo4Politics. Stay engaged, stay informed, and until the next episode, stay blessed. I'm gonna change my glasses. Ooh, it got dark all of a sudden. I haven't even prepared dinner yet, so.
That is exactly
it. Security number in there, so I think you're all right. No. I'm Cuckoo4Politics. I love talking about various issues like this.
Mic drop.
Mic drop. Yo, I may have to use some of this in my podcast, so